So Donnie Tuttle is today's talk, and he's going to be sharing his talk called Sell Anywhere and Make Selling an Act of Love, Not War. So let's learn a little bit about Donnie, him and his family of 10. Yes, I said 10. And thank you, Donnie, for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is exciting. So a few years ago, we were challenged. And the challenge was this. I was extended a job offer with a really cool company. And my question was, does it matter where I work from? You see, we had had all 8 of our children. I met my wife. We had done all of our business in one little town, and that was in the town of Gainesville, Florida. And even though we were an hour and a half from the beach on both directions, we would go like once a year. And every year we would say, I want to travel. I want to travel. I want to travel. And we decided to pick up and move into what would become a defining life adventure. I'll back up a moment and explain my history. In 2002, I left the teaching profession and went into the only profession that I said I would never do. And I learned to never say never. I was selling. And for the first half of my career, sales felt like another person's suit. It was itchy and it was too tight in the wrong areas. By the time this opportunity came along, I had turned the page and moved past that. I was owning who I was and what I was doing. I was really at the peak of my career, and I'd actually been leading a group of what I would call sales ninjas to do their thing. And so we decided to do it. And you can see in the picture here, these are not the best of, but we went everywhere in America that we had wanted to go to. We even spent the last 5.5 months in Mexico. And in the process, it undid a lot of the work that I'd done before. It broke routines and it removed some of those things that had cemented me. And I feel like that in relearning my process, there were some valuable lessons I took, and I wanted to share those with you as well, because I know if you have a business, that's the heartbeat. That's the blood. It's sales and selling. And what I found was that if you can sell anywhere, you can sell everywhere. And the reality is that this is a very human activity. So the very first thing that I found when we were doing our thing and we were showing up in all these wonderful locations was, Doc Brown said it best, Marty, I think we could rip the space-time continuum. We did that. We ripped the space-time continuum, and I found that good sales come from good habits. And it's not who you are once in a while, it's who you are consistently that helps you to create a top producing career. And when we would shift from one location to another every 3 months, what would happen is I would have a new space. And we'll talk about what happened with the time in a moment. But my space told me nothing about what was to be done with my work. And so your space and your time are absolutely important and should be instructive of your most important activity. The other thing that I found was that, man, when we first started traveling and we see mountains and beaches and all of these wonderful, cool places and so much stuff to taste and see and feel and do. I felt a lot like this meme, right? I knew I should be prospecting, but gosh almighty, if it wasn't so hard to look towards adventure. And so even the distraction of other things, well, that was obviously just a huge temptation for us. And for me in specific, and one of the key takeaways that I learned was how to be a traveler and not a tourist. And a traveler is someone who realizes he can always have good experiences, but a tourist feels like, oh, I only have this very, very limited time to actually make this happen. Given the whole space-time continuum, given the distraction and the realization that things had changed, there was also the reality that there are pitfalls in any sales process. As a matter of fact, for the last few years of my career, I'd been someone who had been responsible for training sales forces and developing scripts that were the most effective way for people to go out there and get things done. And in the midst of this, I've got to tell you, every 3 months, trying to build new relationships, sell, create new relationships, gain referrals. It was difficult. And my process, just like probably your process and almost anyone else's, was flawed. And a part of the flawed process, most of us try to change with technology, and it can't be fixed with technology, because when you do it with technology, you become this guy. Now, not the one that was in Terminator 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, but I'm talking about the one that was in Terminator 1 that would do the death march, right? And I'm looking for Sarah Connor, right? The one that just wouldn't stop, and he was relentless, and he was a killer, and Sarah Connor never wanted to be with him. Most sales rely on us to be aggressive, selfish, and takers. Even those of us that are the nice guys in the bunch that would normally never line up that way. The majority of trainings that are offered give us that as a solution. And while I was in the midst of this great adventure, I realized some of the scripts that I'd been given were with this guy. And when I combined technology to actually help, I became, right, the Terminator here. That's who I became. That's who you become if you try to fix it with tech. And what I found, and I hope to liberate you with, is the message that technology is great as long as it's wrapped around the right message. And here, my friend, is your answer. It is love. You see, if we can take sales and selling and turn it into a process that's very familiar, in fact, ingrained into you and me and everyone else in our country from the time of infancy, I found that we can unlock the right thing to say, the right way to say it, and the script is love. You see, I believe sales is something that we can do for someone and with someone, not to someone. And it really simplifies things, because if you can just tell where you're at in the process of a love pursuit relationship, you know what to say and you know how to say it. So you may want to take a quick picture of this one. This is what I call the 7 C's of selling. And the first one is conviction, and it's loving yourself and being fully convicted that those are the person you're facing is someone you can help and that you actually want to work with. Stage 2 is creating curiosity and credibility, which we'll get into in a moment. But if you want someone to pay attention to you, you've got to do something to stand out. And that's how we create curiosity. Now, credibility means that you stand out, but you don't look like an axe murderer. You don't look, you're different, but not odd. Okay. So we've got to be that as well. Next comes the chase, where you might have to pursue and show up in a way that shows someone that you are serious. The next stage is connection, and you meet and you see, not if you should get married yet, duh, but right, if you are compatible. If you are, we present the solution, and that makes sense. And commitment is what some people call closing, but this is just where you're asking for a decision. right? Don't be the person who's engaged for 8 years and never gets married, right? These are relationships that move along. And then through consistency and creating a consistent, reliable relationship, you can build what I call champions. And that's what AGC is all about, is those champions. The biggest key to all of these things, the biggest key to love as well, are these 3 letters. You be you. You be you. Stop trying to act like any of the people who are out there who want to give you their book, including mine. This only works. Your scripts, what you say and what you do, will only work if it's you that's saying and doing it. And so the very beginning of the process is releasing all of the pressure to perform and be like someone else. And hey, if you're the funny dog, be the funny dog, right? All of these dogs are different personalities. If you're the cool one, be the cool one. If you're geeky, be geeky. If you're romantic or serious or happy-go-lucky, however you are in your approach towards relationships, that is actually how you should approach your sales relationships. And the goal, and this is freeing for so many people, I learned this, that not everyone is a fit, and that's okay. The goal is we're just looking to find the ones that are compatible. This world is abundant, and there are so many people out there who need what you have. And let's look at something that is a little bit different, and this is curiosity. This is something that's not deployed by the majority of people who are out there because they're just so quick and they're just hunting and taking and they make sales, they make it a battle. It's an act of war. I'll share with you a story of a time where I had to deploy curiosity, and hopefully you'll get the idea. We had moved to Maine, and the tactics that normally worked for me to gain, we would sell through appointments and I would speak to groups, and gosh, I was doing the same thing and I couldn't get anyone to meet with me. 4, 5, 6 weeks of a zillion calls a week and nobody would meet with me. Because in Maine, they're nice people, but they only do business with people who are Mainers, which means you were born in Maine. So I reapproached it. I wrote a letter, put it in a bottle, and I had the bottle hand delivered. And I got a 90% meeting rate from the people that was delivered to. So spark people with this curiosity. Now the champions, those of you who are in AGC, you should be utilizing champions. Champion sales are the best sales in the world. Your champions fight for you. These people are on your side. And the very first thing I can tell you that I learned along the way is that if you love them, they'll love you back. So love them. We also, hopefully, if we have champions and people who love you, they want to help you, get their stories. Their stories can help you to build your ultimate sales story. Also, stories lead to testimonials, right? And testimonials, of course, should lead to referrals. This is something that you should be asking and that you should be doing. Here is the deal. We can dress anything up with technology, but ultimately the technology is just going to reveal the motive of the person behind it. The most important part of this whole scenario is that we make sales and selling an act of love and not an act of war. Eliminate the scripts. Eliminate this fear of failure, this confrontation that we made up, and create a scenario where you win and other people win, and you're just looking for the people who are compatible and who need what you have. That's what I learned along the way to this journey. I've been able to put hundreds of people into my test lab as a productivity coach, and I eat my own medicine as well. And I hope that you have benefited from this. And if nothing else, that you'll be able to make your sales an act of love and not an act of war. If you have anything where you want to continue to interact with this idea, I do have a free mini class available all you have to do is go to gosellanywhere.com, and that will bring you to the place where we can start to interact and listen. In the place of COVID, I think all of us have probably been thrust into a place where we might not have been intending to work. And that's what that is all about. It's about making the best of that. I think in that actual mini class, I think it's a 5-session class, you'll see my awesome COVID haircut in the process. So thanks for hanging with me. Make sales an act of love, not an act of war.